Hi. Many Jehovah's Witnesses and some ex-Jehovah's Witnesses live in fear. Fear of Armageddon. Fear of falling or failing to be faithful and having no resurrection hope. Fear of rejection. Fear of the elders. Fear of the organization itself. Fear of the governing body. Should fear characterize believers? I read an excellent sermon by Alexander Maclaren based on the Apostle Paul as he's in the middle of a storm and the soon-to-be shipwreck of the boat he's on. This is a quote from Acts 27, verse 23, in the mouth of Paul. He says, "There stood by me this night the angel of God, whose I am and whom I serve." These are some of the comments of Alexander Maclaren. The secret of his serenity was in his consciousness, as expressed in the words at the head of this page, that he belonged to God, and that the angel of the Lord was with him. The words are a short but sufficient confession of faith, unveiling the source of his tranquility in the storm. God had claimed him for his own, and he had yielded to the claim. Not creation, nor continuous outward mercies showered upon us, but the one transcendent act of God's love, which gave itself to and for us, wins us to be God's in the only real sense. Ye are not your own, you are bought with a price. God counts us as his when we consciously yield ourselves to him. To belong to God, thus, is to cease to belong to ourselves. Okay, he says, this yielding of oneself to him, swayed by his love, and this surrendering of will, purpose, and affection, and all that makes up our complex being, leads directly to the true possession of him, the true possession of ourselves. When I read that, I couldn't help but think of a comparison with marriage. When two people decide to become one in their life, they surrender their whole future to each other. They surrender their life to be shared. Does it make them less themselves or more themselves? That's what came to my mind. In Maclaren continues to say, the outward life followed the inward surrender. Paul served God because he belonged to God. The word used is employed to describe service, which is worship, not that of a slave. As this man's inward nature had yielded itself to God, so his life was one long act of priestly service. He was serving God, there in the ship, amidst the storm and the terror of others. In all its acts, attitudes, and aspects, our visible life should be the manifestation and register of our inward devotion to and ownership by God. Paul durst not have professed that he was God's servant if he had not known that he had been behaving like one. That confession is incumbent on every Christian. We are not to be always displaying our religion before people's faces. There is very little fear of the average Christian of this day blundering on that side. But we are still less to be always hiding it away. One hears a great deal from certain quarters about a religion that does not need to be vocal, that shows what it is without the necessity for words. Blessed be God. there is such a religion, but we generally find that the people who have it most truly are the people that are the least tongue-tied when opportunity arises, and that if they had been witnessing for God in their quiet discharge of duty with their hands instead of their lips, they are quite as ready to witness with their lips when it is fitting that they should do so. And surely if a man belongs to God, if his whole life is to be the manifestation of the ownership that he recognizes, that which specially reveals a man, that is, his own articulate speech, cannot be left out of his methods of manifestation. Action is a more powerful way of inviting others to serve God than direct appeals, but it must be backed up by a life according with it. And another point that he makes. And if we feel that we are his and live accordingly, we shall be calm amid all change, serene when others are troubled, ready to be helpers of others, even when we ourselves are in distress. I found it a very comforting sermon, and one that we should reflect on. I'm going to link to two videos, the first one being, how does Jesus treat his unfaithful apostles? Comfort, not criticism. Peace, not accusations. So this fear that we always had as witnesses that we wouldn't be faithful enough, I think this particular video is especially tender, because when Christ sees his apostles for the first time after they all abandon him when he's being crucified, his first word to them is peace. Peace be to you. The second video is JW's Fear, jw.org, and Armageddon, yet don't fear the day of judgment, standing before Christ. And that's based on a discussion of text in Matthew, along with reading from J.C. Ryle's commentary that David and I did. Thanks.